Good afternoon. Preparing for a great opponent in Clemson. Should be a great environment. Our guys are excited about the challenge playing down at Clemson. Very difficult place to play, but certainly one that they've been looking forward to certainly all season. I think when we talk about Clemson, certainly a quarterback that is multi-dimensional, and Deshaun Watson, athletic, can throw it, really surrounded with some playmakers. Scott at the wide receiver position, running back, Gallman. I think it's an up-tempo offense, but certainly, clearly want to control the offensive line of scrimmage, but very creative offensively. And then I think we know that they're very gifted defensively. Again, lost some great players last year, but just seemed to reload on defense. Really impressed with Shaq Lawson, but the entire front four is athletic. You can see that Boulware, the linebacker 10, is a lot like our Joe Schmidt. Very smart. You can see he's the leader on their side of the ball. And then, an outstanding secondary. Both corners are great cover corners, size at the safety position. Curse and certainly Green have got great size and range. So very gifted, talented, both sides of the ball. Special teams, they've had big plays on special teams. Should be a great environment, great atmosphere, and the kind of football game that our guys are excited to be playing in. We know it's going to be a great challenge. We'll prepare for it today, begin our preparation, and get working towards Saturday. So with that, we'll open up to questions.
Brian, after the game Saturday, you talked about how you have a pretty good feel for the team's pulse. 4 games in, what are you confident the team can do game in and game out, and what do you think this team still has to prove?
Well, I know this, that it's a close team. They'll play hard for each other. There's no quit in them. They'll overcome adversity. I think they'll go on the road and they'll battle for 4 quarters. I think I know that about them. We're still playing some young players that are not, experienced in certain areas, so that has to continue to grow. But I think I know more about the grit, determination, character. I think we still have to continue to grow as a football team on the field relative to specific skill positions. Quarterback is certainly still one of them. And we still have to, find ourselves more consistent in the back end of our defense.
In the secondary, is part of the problem still last year? Obviously, part of the problem was communication. Is that still a problem back there at all?
No, I don't think so. I think if you look at, we kept UMass scoreless for over 31 minutes, and I think a couple of plays that we didn't fit right. 2-back lead draw. Don't know that our defense has seen 2-back lead draw since they come to camp. Doesn't mean we can't defend it. We should have defended it. It's unacceptable. But I think that's one thing. And then obviously the gadget play. Those 2 big plays right there, resulted in about 35% of their offense. The other plays, we're competing at a pretty good level.
You got burned for a gadget play against Virginia too. Do you expect now teams are going to keep doing that until your defense shows they can stop it?
I would. I would continue to run them. So I certainly think that our defensive coaches are well aware of that eventuality, and we've had a conversation about it. So we'll have to continue to, certainly, pick up our keys and be more aware of them. But, it was a well-designed play that we'll have to be aware of moving forward.
Several weeks ago, you said that you never coached a player like Jalen before, and I assume part of that is his versatility, that he can do so much. Do you think he as impactful as Manti Te'o was?
First of all, I agree with you. My comments were centered about his versatility and his ability to impact, all phases of our defense. I think he impacts the point of attack, where you can attack our defense in so many ways. Manti had, a way of influencing, the entire defense. He had he just had a savvy and a smart presence about him, like a Joe Schmidt, but certainly, an athleticism about him as well, not to the level of Jalen. So I think they impacted differently. I think Jalen impacts more physically than Manti did, but Manti had a large presence on that defense as well.
And Jalen, talking to a week or two ago, said he's, like most great players, always trying to improve. Where do you think he can improve the most at this point?
I would say that we continue to work, in pass coverage and some of the things that we want him to recognize. But I think we're splitting hairs. He's generally in really good position in most pass coverages, but there are a couple things that we want to continue to work on, and obviously his pass rush too, because we need him to help us there as well. So I think there's a couple things that certainly he's going to continue to work on himself, but I think within our defense we're pretty happy as to where he is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian, I know that, when you played in the national championship game, the big stage was a problem kind of after the fact. Florida State last year, it seemed like there were lessons learned with that. Can you kind of share maybe what you do as a coach to get a team, what you've learned about getting a team ready for such a big stage as this?
Yeah, I think our football team was well prepared for Florida State relative to being on the road and loud crowd and all the things that go with that. The media presence, I think in pregame we had more media presence and cameras than we did in the national championship game, or at least it appeared that way. And I thought our kids handled that very well. Didn't have a lot of communication errors on the field. Just didn't make a play or two maybe at the end that we needed to. So I think we'll continue in that same vein. Most of these kids played in that game, so I think we'll have a lot of carryover, and we'll talk in terms of the same kind of environment, very similar, I believe, that we'll talk about this week in terms of how we'll need to prepare.
There was a note in this week's game notes for Notre Dame about plays 50 yards more, that you're already past what you've done any other season here. As far as those explosive plays, do you feel like they're sustainable given the personnel you have? And when you design the plays, is that kind of what you have in mind, or is it kind of just, again, the way the personnel's expressing it?
I think it's both. I think that, you're certainly pushing the ball vertically down the field, but we're also getting big play runs. Obviously a 91-yard run by C.J. Prosise obviously adds to that. I think what we're seeing is the addition to some of those big plays is a running back that has breakaway speed. Not to take away anything from our backs, over the last couple of years, they were very good backs, but C.J. has another gear that he can kick into. And then the utilization of Will Fuller, certainly, and his ability to, obviously get over the top of most defenders. So I think, first of all, you have to push the ball down the field to want to get those, but you have to have those kind of players as well.
What would you like Brandon Wimbush's role to be moving forward? Do you want him just to be ready in case he's needed, or is there something with his track speed that lends you to say, hey, maybe we could use him in an occasion?
Well, I would probably have answered that question a little bit differently last week by saying that we just want to get him in the game and prepare him to be the number 2, and he'll still be the number 2, but I think that there's more conversation, at least I've had more conversation with, possibly utilizing him in a smaller role in certain situations that we can utilize his skill set, because he certainly is, we know he's got arm talent. He certainly has the physical ability. Certainly doesn't have the whole playbook down at this point, but I think I'm moving more towards, fine-tuning some things that could get him into the games regardless of the situation.
And last thing, any update on Luatua and which knee for Corey Robinson?
Yeah, Tyler is moving through the protocol. He'll be on the field today in a non-contact manner. If he does well today, then he'll move to the next stage, which would be cleared for contact. Corey Robinson, Mike, maybe you know if it's right or left. I'm not certain. Yeah, he had a cortisone shot. He'll be full go in practice today.
Brian, here, the drive before the end of the half, 127 left, 10 plays, 74 yards. What significance do you put on that as it relates to Kizers' development, and what conversation did you have with him in the aftermath of that? Yeah,
well, it's something that, we really feel like is an emphasis in our week-long preparation is having those drives. He's had 2 of them already. One, of course, against Virginia, and now that was a game winner, and this one right before the half. He's got really good poise, doesn't seem to be affected by the moments of it, has good clock awareness, and, in that situation with 2 timeouts, the first play is always the most important play. And so we talk about being positive with the first play, and then trying to get ourselves in a position for a field goal, and then from there, obviously getting it in the end zone. And I think when you're talking to Deshaun Kizer about those kinds of drives, he has a real good sense of what needs to be accomplished. Not turning the football over, making sure that he makes good decisions. Not taking a sack. He's got a lot of those things already, and I think that makes it easier for us to go into those situations and not sit on the ball,
Were you aware of his running ability from the standpoint of having the vision to see where the pass rush is coming from, where the path is to head to the sideline? He has a good feel for the running aspect of the position.
Yeah.
How much of that did you know of him coming out of high school?
Well, I was aware of it based upon his last couple of games in high school, and he had to lead some late drives to win some games, and that was impressive, and we got a chance to see that a little bit. So we knew it was there. Where I really got a better feel for it is that when we went into our up-tempo offense, he saw the field very well and had a sense for the rush, knew when to escape, get the ball out, and got a better feel for that, especially this camp, that we could go into those kinds of situations and feel pretty comfortable with them.
How did you assess the wide receiver blocking from this past week?
Very good. We missed a couple of cracks inside, but there was great effort. And that's what we asked for more than anything else. We had a couple of missed assignments on some crack replays, but the effort was very, very good.
You talked about Malik Zaïre's involvement in the quarterback's room, and he's going to travel with you. Mm-hmm. In terms of Tarian Folston, is he playing a similar role? Where is he now? He's been really good. I mean, his surgery date obviously was just 10 days ago. He's been with us all week and engaged, and he'll continue to be with us. And we're a little bit
hesitant to put him out on the sideline right now where he is, probably another week away before we can get him traveling with us. But he's fully engaged, and he'll be very helpful with our young backs.
Thank you.
Coach, hi, how are you?
Good, Janine.
Losing 6 starters in a fairly short amount of time, can you just talk about how that affected your team psychologically?
Well, they were close to every one of them, so all of those players had an impact in some fashion, but it didn't impact the bottom line, and the bottom line was that they were going to come back the next day, and they were going to welcome that next person in to the role that they needed to excel in. They lost a friend, they lost a teammate. There were some tears shed because of it, but they want to accomplish the mission. And so that has been a focus of the group, is that they really want this mission to be accomplished. So they're moving on quickly, but never forgetting. And so I think that that's how they've been able to handle the loss of, you know, some players that they're very close to and some key players.
And when you say, you know, they want to accomplish the mission, and now you're plugging in, you know, different people, what's been the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome in sort of managing this whole dynamic?
Well, I think if the players were not totally committed to the mission, then it makes it harder for me, you know, to get where we want to get, and that is we need to move on. We need to support the next man in, and we need to trust and believe in that person that they can get the job done. Because there is that mindset here in the program, it's made my job easier to move us forward. So I give the credit to our leadership, I give the credit to the players that it's allowed us to really keep moving forward. Now, the message has been consistent and clear from my end that no excuses, let's keep moving forward. I trust the next man in, that he can do the job, and our players have moved forward accordingly.
And in the last 2 weeks, in what areas specifically have you seen the most growth from DeShone Kizer?
I would probably say just in command presence. You know, he has a presence about him, a command presence that when he goes out there with the other 10 players, and you don't feel like you're putting, you know, a freshman quarterback out there. You know, you don't sense that or feel that. And so I think that's all about a presence, and he has that about him. And I see that every day he comes out there, he takes control of that offensive unit. It's not meek, it's not weak, it's a presence that he brings when he goes out there, and I think that that's what he's brought. He's learning along the way. He's, you know, there's things that he hasn't seen before. There'll be mistakes that he makes this weekend as well, but I think it's his presence that allows the other 10 players to have a great deal of confidence that they go out and be successful.
Thank you.
Yep.
Brian Centerfield here. Clemson's sophomore corner, Mackensie Alexander, has really been avoided by a lot of teams during his time there. What makes him so effective, and do you look to challenge him on Saturday night?
Well, I think he's an outstanding corner. You know, he reminds me a lot of, you know, Florida State's and LSU's corners. Very athletic. You know, Ronald Darby, I think, is vying for Rookie of the Year honors right now in the NFL, and we thought he was an outstanding corner for Florida State. But you know, the nature of college football is such that, you know, when the ball is placed on the hash, you can't avoid anybody. If the ball is played in the middle of the field, then there's a chance that maybe you could avoid somebody. But you can't avoid. You have to go play the game because the ball's, you know, played a little bit differently in college football. So you know, we have to play the game the way it's lined up for us. So we have a great deal of respect for him, but we think we've got some pretty good wide receivers as well.
As far as Tyler Newsome is concerned, on the kickoffs the other day, some of them were going into the end zone, some were not. Was that a strategic decision where you asked him to kick it shorter, or was that just a factor of?
Well, we would like them all to be at the appropriate hang time. We're getting to the point where we would like the ball inside the 25-yard line. 25-yard line is the max for us at this point, where we've gotten our kickoff coverage team. We're 19.6 now in return. So we'd like it at the appropriate hang time, because we believe that we can pin you inside the 20 if we get the appropriate hang time. So if he can give us the appropriate hang time at the goal line, we'd prefer that, in the right location.
And speaking of hang time, his punting stats have been phenomenal. In fact, best ever in Notre Dame history so far. When you scouted him, did you think that he would be this good?
We knew he had talent. It was raw talent at the time. We knew we had a year to work with him. He has got an incredible work ethic. A lot of the credit should go to him and his work ethic. He's about as hard worker as that we've had, and I mean across all position groups. If Coach Longo was in here today talking about the hardest workers on the football team in the weight room, he would mention Tyler Newsome.
What is it that makes the Clemson environment such a great environment to play in? You've used that term.
I've never been there. I don't know. I would think that it's a raucous crowd like we have at our stadium. I would think that a good football team makes it a raucous. You know, they've got a good football team. It's well coached. You know, all those things equal it. Our team will have to play well. I think if you play well, you tend to quiet crowds down.
We're here, Coach. A lot of the preseason attention at linebacker was on Jalen and the return of Joe, but it seems the Sam linebacker position with James and Greer have been pretty productive. It seemed James had maybe one of his best games on Saturday. And what has been your overall evaluation on how they fit overall into the scheme?
We'd like them to be 2-1. We'd like Greer to have maybe James's athletic ability, and then we'd have James to maybe have Greer's football intelligence. James is learning every day. It's a new position. He came in as a wide receiver, and now he's playing linebacker. He learns every day. He's such a smart kid. So what we're seeing from James is a better awareness of his position, how to play fast but not out of control. Many times last year, he would play fast but out of control. He would just miss a blitz. He would just miss a tackle. He's starting to make those plays. So I think what's coming on here is some of that football knowledge is really starting to, you know, click in for him. And I think what we know about Greer is that he puts himself in good positions. And he's worked really hard on his strength, his physicality, and with the knowledge that he has at that position, which is really chiefly one of the major pluses that we thought he had when we recruited him. It's made him a better football player.
Nick Wisher played a lot of snaps, I think the most among the tight ends on Saturday. What in his evolution has led him to maybe emerge a little bit more, because the blocking aspect was going to be...
Lou, we were very confident in playing him based upon what we saw in camp. We saw a toughness and a grittiness in camp when he had to play a lot of snaps. There was a time when Alizé Jones was out, Durham Smythe was out, and not playing much, and Tyler Luatu was out in camp. And there was probably a 2 or 3 day stretch when Nick Wisher got all the reps. I mean, he was getting all of them. And we were able to really get a great evaluation of him. And I saw toughness, I saw grit and determination. I saw him being able to do all those jobs. And so when we gave him that opportunity, we felt very confident that he could do the things that we needed him to do.
And as far as Max at the safety position,
Yeah.
where's his status right now, health-wise?
Yeah, no,
Is there a
I think-
comfort of leaving him in there more full-time?
I think right now Max will be our starter at safety, and I think he's coming along. He's getting to where we need him to be, getting better and better. So it looks like he'll be the starter at safety this week.
Is there confidence with his tackling despite the
Yeah,
cast
much
there?
better. Yeah, against UMass.
Brian Reagor, I was just curious with Martini and Devin, how do you feel like your sub package is graded out in a, I guess, instance that will be called on quite a bit on Saturday night?
Yeah. Well, in our sub package situation, you know, each player has a different role. Overall, our sub packages was excellent because our third down percentages were good. We're still evolving there. We're still evolving. So, you know, this week that sub package could be a different look for us. But the key pieces, right, are, you know, we're talking about, you know, who are those guys that go on the field, and, you know, Martini, you know, is it Butler? You know, who are those guys each and every week? And that's where we're still evolving. There's going to be a sub package or two each and every week. It's finding the right rotation of guys.
And I guess we spend so much time asking about who's the nickel and who's the dime. Is it as important or more important? Okay, where do we line up Sheldon in this package? Is Jalen a defensive end? Those kind of things. Is that kind of what's more important to you?
It is. It really is. And then it is, all right, what's their third down scheme? What are they looking to do on third down? And then we're going to kind of match the pieces accordingly.
With Luatua, if he's not cleared today, can't practice tomorrow, is it realistic that he would have a major role on Saturday?
I would say that if he's not cleared tomorrow, it's unrealistic that he would have a role on Saturday.
Chris Brown, when we recruited him out of South Carolina, it's not a place you go a whole lot. You know, he was kind of a track guy, developmental, and it took a while to get him to where he is now. Could you just sort of revisit his career here to get to this point and the opportunity he has on Saturday?
Yeah. What we liked about Chris, you know, first of all, was his work ethic. You know, we saw a kid that, two things. One, he really wanted to be at Notre Dame. Single-parent mom, loved the home environment. A mom that drove him up here twice to come to Notre Dame. So we thought it was a great fit from there. And then really thought that he brought that first element of raw speed that we wanted at that position, and then we knew that we were going to have to develop him along the way. And he's just been a great personality, a great leader in the program, and has developed his skills through hard work. He's a hard-working kid, to the point now where if you ask who that leader is of the wide receiver core, it is Chris Brown. Chris is the leader of that group, and so we've come full circle here from you know, a freshman that, you know, was struggling away from home to a leader of that group.
Has he been patient through that process? You think back to that play at Oklahoma, and that happens, and I think what probably goes through a lot of people's minds, well, he could do this every week, and it, you know, really hasn't happened for him until now, and it seems to be happening quite a bit more.
Again, I think we would go back to raw skills being, you know, refined. As a route runner and as a pass catcher, he was a bit inconsistent in those areas, has become much more consistent in those areas. He's always been a hard worker, will always stick his nose in there, would do the dirty jobs for us in so many areas in terms of blocking and special teams, and he still does a lot for us in special teams. So I think it was just refining those skills.
Coach, over here. How much does it help 2 weeks in a row having a similar prep defensively, other than the trigger man, obviously, in Watson and maybe a heavier dose of zone read? You have two similar offenses 2 weeks in a row, and putting the Georgia Tech thing 2 weeks behind. Is that a big help?
Yeah, I mean, there's some similarity. I think the UMass passing game was a bit more involved. You know, certainly this quarterback has the ability to run on us. I think it's Fruenapple did not have that. But look, getting back into, you know, a traditional plan 2 weeks in a row was definitely helpful. Our D-line was not as sharp last week, coming back after the option. No question about that. I think that you know, they're looking forward to this week, certainly. So all those things are pluses, but we're going to have to play a better offense in all areas. Offensive line, you know, receivers, and then the quarterback obviously is the big threat here. He's a game wrecker, and we'll have to do such a better job than we did this past weekend.
Brian, you talked a little bit about what you perceive the atmosphere will be this Saturday. Given kind of the reputation for this stadium, will you guys do anything to prepare for noise and communications and things of that nature this week? Oh,
yeah. We'll start today. We'll be on the grass for about 6 periods, and we'll have loud noise pumped in. We'll be in nonverbal cadence throughout the entire practice. So it'll be a loud environment on the practice field, and we'll be working nonverbal cadence as if it's, you know, the loudest environment that we've ever played in.
Is there an additional challenge to that, given that your quarterback has such a limited kind of body of work at this point, or does he seem good at that sort of thing?
You know, I would be surprised if the moment was too big for him. I'm sure, like everybody else, there'll be, you know, those butterflies and some nervousness. But I think once we get into the flow of the game, he's going to be fine. But, you know, we're going to prepare him and, you know, make sure that he understands all the things that will happen in that game. But, again, I think that he's pretty he's a realist. He knows it's going to be loud and the environment's going to be electric, but he can settle that environment down by playing really well.
And being around you guys the last couple of days, do you notice that there's just kind of a difference in terms of the buzz for this game? I mean, can you sense that they're maybe a little more excited than they might normally be?
Oh yeah, yeah. You know when your team is I would say detailed on the very first meeting, and they know who they're playing, and they know what they need to do and how they need to play if they want to win.
Will you let them get overly emotional before the start of this game, or do you really want them to try and, you know, where's the line between business-like and letting them kind of have that extra emotional edge in your mind?
You know, we kind of temper it during the week in terms of enthusiasm versus emotion. We like enthusiasm. We want our guys to be enthusiastic about what they're doing and excited. Emotion drains you, you know. So we're not a big fan of emotion. So, you know, we try to temper the emotion and really work towards the enthusiasm, and I think that that's been my model in trying to direct our guys towards that.
And in similar instances when you've played in games of this magnitude, what do you enjoy about them?
I would say just the competition, when it's, you know, it just brings out the best in everybody. It brings out the best in the players and the coaches, and you know, I think that's, you know, everybody wants to be challenged. Everybody wants to you know, get that opportunity to compete at the highest level, and this will be one of those opportunities.
Let's see if we have anything from the callers.
Thank you. If you would like to ask a question, please signal by pressing *1 on your telephone keypad. If you're using a speakerphone, please make sure your mute function is turned off to allow your signal to reach our equipment. Again, press *1 to ask a question. And there are no questions from the phone lines.
We remain perfect.